Welcome to the Outer Realm with Michelle Desrochers and Amelia Pisano. Airing live on the United Public Radio Network, 105.3 FM in New Orleans.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Thursday night segment of The Outer Realm. We're broadcasting live on United Public Radio Network, UFO, Paranormal Radio Network, 105.3 and 107.7 FM from the beautiful city of New Orleans. We are fully sponsored by, yes, you guessed it, of course, Folgers Coffee, who have been with us since day one. So we appreciate them so very much for their continued support and contribution to our show. So thank you. Also, big thank you to Justin Snicker, aka Dr. Snick, the Sonic Surgeon, who is the voice in the music that you hear on that amazing intro that just played. He's an award-winning composer of Halloween, horror, sci-fi, and dark wave electronic music. And it can be found anywhere that good music can be found. So check him out. Also, big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind all of the banners and logos here at the Outer Realm. So check him out on Facebook and Instagram. He's also, specializes in horror genre stuff, but he does great commission pieces. So tonight, yes, it is, open discussion night, which everybody looks forward to. It's like the Q&A, anything goes. But what's going to be a little bit different about tonight, because as you can see, I don't have my little bubbly compadre, but I'm going to have another compadre on here, bubbly in her own way. And you're going to see throughout the evening, we're going to have other people join in. So there'll be a little bit of a surprise as we move on. Mind you, I probably just blurted it all out earlier anyway, so I may as well just say it. I think hour two will bring on board Preston Dennett, whom we all know and love, and Joe Montaldo. So can you take a guess at which direction this whole parlay is going to go in? Well, let's just see. Bam. Miss Dolly, how are you?
I'm wonderful. How are you?
One of my guest hosts for the evening.
Yes. Ta-da.
Ta-da. I know. Thank you for coming in. I mean,
you're welcome. This is my pleasure, my honor. Thank you very much.
Oh my gosh, please stop it. So, people are chiming in. It is episode 333, isn't it? Wow, it makes it a very special episode. Wow, I love it. Well, thank
incredible.
you. Thank you to Ruth. And oh my God, Chris, is you having a meltdown. Holy crap. I mean, it's 2 days in a row. Wow. Glad you made it.
Hi, Chris.
And Michael, hello.
Hi, Michael.
Brian, hello. I love it. And Nancy, hey. This I love these things because it just allows us to go into any direction that we want to. Yesterday was National or International Paranormal Day, so that was a whole other theme, and people are still sort of riding off of it, I noticed today, so I think it'll be a lot of fun. But tonight, I mean, all of you guys, everybody sort of specializes in extraterrestrial and ufology, and I think that's spectacular because we don't often have just nights on that. But of course, it's up to you guys in chat where you want to take it. So if you got questions and comments, start chiming in because we're going to go and we're going to get started. So what's going on in your world? Been beamed up lately?
Actually, I made a plea last night for myself. I'm tired all the time. And I'm trying to figure it out. And then it dawned on me, I solved my own problem, so I'm okay. But Mama is watching us tonight, just so you know.
Oh, no.
Just keeping an eye on me.
We have to behave.
I don't know. She's pretty cool.
Yeah, she's pretty cool. I'm just updated my banner here. So go. Yeah, she's lovely. And again, it's an honor that she would even take the time. Can we go there? So
yeah,
I know. So you are now, I'll talk about this a little bit more when Preston joins in an hour or two. But you guys are now officially
Yeah,
radio hosts with your own show
right.
right here on United Public Radio Network.
Absolutely, we are.
I know. So maybe a little bit later we'll show the banner.
Right,
But until now, we're going to have to just hang back. And we've just switched you guys too. So you were on a Sunday night,
right.
and of course, yours truly may have been on there. Just saying, but but we basically popped you in right into prime time, which is now going
Yes.
to be. Hold on, while I'm upgrading, let me just upgrade all this while we get going. We upgraded you guys to prime time on Monday evenings, 9 to 11 Eastern.
Yes,
I like that.
absolutely. I know. When you sent me the message, we were talking about something, and he just looked at me and he said, "Oh my God!" and do we do this? And the answer was absolutely yes. No thinking about it. We went,
Yeah, who loves you, baby?
absolutely, you do.
You know it.
Yep.
You know it. You know it. No, I think it's great. I think we're going to you guys are going to bring us a lot. There we go. That's better. There
Woohoo.
we go. Okay. So I think you guys are going to bring on a lot of really good content, and I'm looking really forward to seeing what lays ahead for out on the Light Gate. But what made you come up with this name, Light Gate?
The light gate. Well, it's a way for me to bring home to everybody how they travel.
Okay.
They do not use a wormhole or anything like that. They actually are light workers. They work with light and psychically with light, and they know how to power up an actual gate of light. And they can, how the theory is they bend time,
Mm-hmm.
bring places closer to one another. That's what a light gate actually does. But when you go through it, it's instantaneous. We can go from where we're at to anywhere actually within less than a quarter of a second. And then we shut the gate down and we reorient ourselves. And
I'm
that's
sure I've seen said gate. I think you and I were talking about that.
yes, yeah,
And it's funny, because I saw it in a vision one time, like they just showed it to me, and I remember all the details of it, and I remember just standing there looking back at it, but thinking, oh, it's just something in a vision. It was like, well, because I was asleep and I was just traveling and doing all this fun stuff, but the second time I saw it, I recognized it because of the fact that I was driving. And it was right in front of me, and it was just like this huge, all I could see was, of course, like the arch part of it. I
yeah,
couldn't see it all. It was just massive, and I couldn't see over the horizon.
right,
But it was all these beautiful, almost pastel type
yes,
colors.
right.
And I just thought to myself, oh my God, this is beautiful. When I was looking at, like, do you have to be seeing this? Because no, man, I'm not seeing it. Like, you have to be seeing. How do you miss this thing? It's like
Yeah,
Gigantosaurus just right in front of us. And it's strange because he has a lot of experiences of his own, but I realize it's like maybe not everybody is meant to see it.
well, they try really hard not for you to see it. Actually, if I'm amazed that you didn't crash in the car because it's very bright and it can,
It's
depending on
over
the
the side of
distance,
the river.
yeah, it can
Yeah.
blind you. And
Sure. Yeah.
most of the time they light gate underwater. Actually, that's why there's so many USOs and things like that.
Right.
We
Right.
also cool off in the water. It's
Right.
easier to go where we're going if we can take the outside temperature of the craft down quickly,
Right.
and they
Of
use water
course.
to do it.
Yeah.
In the Pacific, being cold is one of the favorite places to do it, especially off of Malibu. So, yeah.
Right. Wow. That's interesting. Well, yeah. I mean, for me, it was just not a matter of choice. I think it was far enough away
Mhm.
because it was
You,
across
when
the
you
river.
you
Oh,
saw the colors in it, you weren't being blinded by it. And I don't know. See, I have opinions about everything. I don't know for a fact. Only you
right.
can tell me the truth about this. But you have green eyes, right?
Yes.
I have blue-green eyes. I have
Right.
monochromatic eyes. They're blue and then green overlay. And
Right.
there are certain times that I can, if I have a really, really bright light come in at me, my iris will shut down almost to pinpoints, and I can take it that way. And people here call that photophobic. I call it self-defense. And
Right. All I know is my eyes are real sensitive. Beyond that,
yes,
yeah.
right,
Yeah. So you can deflect it pretty much.
right.
Yes. Well, Jojo, I see you're hiding. You're welcome to come on anytime. Open discussion. Yeah, whatever. You afraid to come out with the chicks? Are you waiting for Preston?
He's gonna bite. That's okay. That's okay. I won't bite. Come on.
But yeah, it was a fascinating, just a fascinating vision to behold. And I have to say that because I've never seen anything like it. Aside from the fact when I saw it in a vision, I thought, okay, my car was like on ice. Don't even ask me. I don't know, because I have it's a sports car. Like I only have it out, for a few months of the year, and it's very low to the ground. And it was sort of like this. And I remember just stepping out of it, but again, it was a ramp going onto a highway, but it's all ice.
Oh, wow. Yeah.
And so I step out of it, but as I look, all of this ice, this whole road went into this big Stargate. It was all these beautiful pastel colors, almost like rainbow, but shimmering. And I thought to myself, and I just kept looking back at it, and I kept thinking, am I supposed to go in there? And why the hell is my beautiful car, sitting on a mound of ice?
You might could have. You could have just gone wherever they wanted you to go. And next time you see one, just walk through. It's not bad. It happens very, very fast. And just hold your breath. That's the one thing that I was trained to do. We all do it. Is when we hit the gate,
hold your breath.
Only a quarter of a second, and then we breathe on the other side because there's no air in that transition.
So don't be like yattering off all of a sudden. Go just like wake up.
I'm not sure. I'm not fate. So, but yeah, we hold our breath when we go through.
Oh, that's interesting to know. I'll have to remember that. Like I never in a million years figured I would see this image in real time. So it was beautiful. But I see all kinds of anomalies. There's times where I'll look up and I'll say, "Where are you?" And it'll just be this flash of light that'll go just like this, and that's it. And it's like, okay, not always. Sometimes I ask, I get Nadja.
Wow. It's been my experience that there's all kinds of reasons for a light to flash that are either paranormal or maybe ET related.
Always in the same spot. I was starting to think it was just something like I know it was in a plane, and I'm just trying to figure out what is it exactly that does that doesn't move, and you only see it once in a while. What do you think in your opinion that would be, being your ex-Air Force?
You believe it or not, they have high flying planes that are above 55,000. They're on oxygen and suits.
Right.
And they are sometimes in certain areas flying in circles, and they're looking. Okay.
Right.
And you'll see it pop, and they're on schedule sometimes. So if you see it around the same time and it just goes bloop, bloop, the sun's hitting it, and you're catching the flash.
Always different times, but always in the same spot, which is interesting. Yeah. Chris says, okay, treat me like a child. What's a Stargate?
Okay. Stargate. All right. I'm going to explain it to you.
Hi, Joanne.
Look at the craft, the really small craft that they have, like Lazar's sports model. They don't Stargate at all. They don't have the ability. They have to go onto a bigger craft and then go with that craft. It takes the driver and the onboard entity to psychically, with the aid of, it's an electromagnetic ball. And we send our consciousness into the ball. And we run this thing consciously, psychically. And the ship, Talata, in my case, has the computations. He's so advanced, he knows what level of frequency to hit. And I know that frequency. I was taught it. I can hear it in my own mind, and I know how to reach it consciously. And what forces, but we also use the energy in the ball, the electromagnetic ball, and it's fed from the same energy that feeds the emitters. And we create a light gate with it, a directed light gate. It only opens as long as we're holding on to it. When we pass through, it immediately shuts down. I let go and it shuts down. If multiple of us are going through it, the gate itself, it is an opening, it is a energetic opening between dimensional space-time where we're at. Okay?
Mhm.
We go through it. If we usually travel in, it's like a fifth dimensional opening. We don't do the third, we don't do the fourth, first or second. We open a fifth dimensional opening that
Right.
bends things a lot better for us. It puts us on target where we're going
Mhm.
better in that particular dimension. So we go through space time in the fifth dimension, and it's
Right.
very fast.
Right.
If there's more than one of us going through, and that can happen, the first one going in opens the gate, and the last one going through shuts it. So we're all of us connected to one another while
Mhm.
going through that gate. So it remains statically open for us until we don't need it. Then poof, it goes out. So
Right. Okay. So also, Chris, is a light gate and a stargate the same thing?
nope,
Nope.
nope.
Okay. What's the differences?
We're
Good one,
not.
Chris.
Yeah, a
Yeah.
stargate. The way everybody explains a stargate would be a wormhole, and they
Okay.
don't use that. It would be theoretically too dangerous to go into a wormhole.
Right.
Wormholes, trust me when I tell you this, look it up for yourselves. A wormhole is a theoretical construct. They've never proven it. It is a theory. And according to ETs, it is not really there. We have light gates, and then we have a type of a portal that has to do with energy between the earth and them. In other words, if you on earth we have ley lines,
Mhm.
magnetic field lines that are
Right.
powerful enough electromagnetically for a being to open a light gate right there, and you would call that a portal, a walk through. So
Right.
yeah, okay,
Okay. So that's the differences.
yeah.
So nice and safe. Okay. Way to go. So, okay. So, um, with that being said, um, dimensionally speaking, can't you just do that with a thought?
Well, and an advanced being could. I'm not capable of it yet. Um,
Yeah.
I'm in a
But I
human
mean,
body and I'm limited, but
yeah.
Talada certainly can. If he leaves the craft, he can come here just like that. You'll see a flash of light, and then suddenly he's right in front of me, and he can visit me that way. And he's actually shown himself a couple times in a
Mm,
physical form, even though it's not. It's just light that
like
he
reflection and yeah.
wants me to see.
Tamara Angle, so they're natural portals. Yeah, I think they're natural portals
Yes,
all
on
over the
this
world. They're
planet.
called power spots.
Every planet that
Yeah.
has a magnetosphere and a core, and heavily
Yeah.
magnetic core, has portal places where you can like it. The only problem is that you have to be advanced enough to do it. So to
Right.
go through one, there has to be an advanced being working with you to get you through.
Right.
Okay.
Right. So in other words, not like Outlander. You just can't go just grab a
No,
stone and go.
no,
So, but
no.
yet you hear so many stories about this, with time shifts. There's stories of people, like I say, they walk out their front door, walk to the back, and they're just like,
What the heck just happened?
what the heck just happened? But yet they come back around and they're back in their space. So what's that?
I think that's a contact, and they're losing time between the two places. I'll give you an example.
Okay.
I used to, when I was in college, I worked for Wells Fargo, and I used to work at big corporations, and I did walking key lock uh, stations, and I did an IBM building in Atlanta, and it had 21 floors, and in each floor there was a key that you stick in the clock and you turn it so it hits a piece of paper and marks that you've done it.
Mm-hmm.
And I had a partner, and she stayed back while I went on my round. And then the next time she did it, because it takes about an hour and a half to make those rounds. And if something happens to either one of us, we're on radio. And if we don't report back, if we don't hear on radio, we don't report back, we hit the buzzer. Okay.
Right.
So I went into the elevator, and then I came out of the elevator, and I was looking around and I was thinking, what the hell? And it freaked me out. I was like, oh my God. And our desk is like 15 feet from the elevator. She's like, what's wrong with you? And I said, I just went in the elevator. She said, no, you've been gone almost 2 hours. And she says, I was just getting ready to come look for you. And I was like, no, 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 no. I just walked in the elevator. And
Right.
I'm 21 years old. Okay. And I was doing my clinical at that time for nursing. And I freaked because that made me think I had epilepsy.
Oh no.
So we're trying to figure out what to do. And we broke the rules. We opened the clock to look at the paper. And I had scored every one of the keys except one. And it was the one on the roof. Because we went out this big metal door out on the roof and we checked the perimeter of the roof to see if anybody was, advancing on them. It's a big door.
Right.
And so we went up to the roof and we opened the door. Well, before we opened the door, Angie's like, was the door like that before you went up? And I said, I don't remember a thing.
I don't know.
There was a huge, I'm not kidding you, dent on the outside of the door inward.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I don't know. And then she looked down at me. She's looking at me. She said, Dolly, look at your right hand. And I was like, it was swollen and red. And it didn't hurt before she said something, but then it started hurting. And I'm like,
oh,
did I slam the door on my hand? What the hell just happened to me? And I see this huge lump in my hand. And it was them picking me up and putting me into surgery to implant my.
no.
And they didn't warn me that was going to happen. They just, pulled me in.
Mm-hmm.
Had a chance. I just happened to be up on the top of a roof in the middle of Atlanta.
So basically, that's missing time. That's abduction. That's.
And I mean, I had no clue between this space and that space.
Mm-hmm.
Just gone.
Right, but it was that fast.
Yeah.
See, that would be sort of difficult. I mean, even like for myself, because, you go through your day and everything seems normal. It doesn't seem out of whack at all.
Right.
So how does that, like you don't think to look for missing time?
The only reason I knew it had happened was because I was on a specific duty. And I had a backup person telling me I was gone 2 hours when I thought I was only gone a half a second. And so the huge discretion reared its head. If you're alone and you're just walking like this person through two different doors, how the hell did I do that? You have nobody.
Yeah.
You just missed the bump of time. What's going on? So, yeah.
Right. That would be a little, I don't know. Now I got to start paying attention. Tamara, so many people who end up in different timelines that they return by mistake to wrong timelines.
There is no such thing. I'm sorry.
Oh.
No such thing.
Okay.
We all live in the third dimension, and there is one timeline to our existence. You're born into this timeline. It does not alter in any way.
But there's dimensions.
Yes, there's
dimensions. Timelines and dimensions, perhaps?
When I go, they take me, okay? I leave, and then I'm gone for a period of time. I can be gone for 2 weeks. I've been gone as long as 3, and come back, and they bring me back within 5 minutes of me leaving originally. So my timeline is still the same here in this dimension. I'm just lagging 4 minutes of it and picking it up. Now my physical body is aging in another timeline, and they bring me back. My timeline hasn't changed. I always come back to my own timeline. If you were to change timelines like that in the third dimension, you would drop dead. You would just cease to exist. It would not. You could not live it at all.
Wow.
So that's how that works. If you go to another dimension, though, you can be there, no problem, and then come back. But they arrange it so that you're within minutes of leaving, so that there's no overlap, there's no discrepancy or anything, even though you're physically older.
Yes, that's actually an excellent thing, because about a couple of decades back, we realized that the long missing times were getting shorter and shorter. In other words, it was almost like ET adjusted to the researchers. We had these cases 5, 6, 8, 10 hours were going missing. Then all of a sudden, they weren't. It was like they were taking you out of time, holding you in this dimension, doing whatever you're going to do and putting you back. My favorite case is I was working a case in Pensacola, Florida. I just had dinner with a couple that night, and I get this crazy phone call at 6 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I'm still in Pensacola. I'm like, what the hell is this? You got to come to my house. You got to come to my house. I get to her house. He's got a beard like this. I mean, this guy was clean shaven when I seen him at midnight. She had hair. Her legs were hairier than mine. Mine pretty damn hairy. And so when I asked him to go see the doctor said it was about 3 weeks worth of growth. Hey, Tamara, how you doing? The funny part is I had just seen him. We had pictures taken that night at midnight. About 12:30 that night, we had pictures. We were together. and I left them around 1, got back to my hotel. So this is 5 hours. They experienced 3 weeks in that 5 hours. But it is because, they're pulling them out of the dimension. It's just enough, and they like to bring you back like 5 minutes till or 5 minutes, but it's always within a few minutes of the original time. That way, no one knows you've been taken. Sometimes it even messes with your own head, unless you have cognitive memory. You're
Right.
kind of like,
I'm
what is
conscious
this?
of it. Yeah.
Something's just off a little bit. You got to be paying a lot of attention for that to happen. I know, you know how we found out about this?
How?
We were working a case in Florida. We just couple had gone down there, so they were spending the weekend in Florida. So that night they left their hotel at 11 o'clock. They went. It was a couple of minutes to 11. They went and stopped at the local convenience store where there was 4 people working out. They remembered this couple. They went and parked their car, and they went out on the beach. And this is right next to Eglin Air Force Base, so it's a little scary. So I get this. They have this ticket. So the cop gives him a ticket for 10:30. Now, when I checked the tape at the hotel and at the convenience store, they weren't there. The car was at the hotel at 10:30, no doubt about it. There was no car there at 10:30, but at 11:15, that car was there. And when the cop did his tape and he sent it, gave us a copy, it clearly said 10:33. So the car was at this spot at 10:33. They wrote the ticket. The dispatcher verified the time, but yet somehow or another that car was still at the hotel at 10:30. It was crazy. So we realized that there was some kind of time discrepancy here. There wasn't missing time. It seemed to be like there was a little bit of gain time here. So after a while, we started telling people, look, pay attention. I said, you don't really have to look for missing time like we did in the old days where you're looking for 4 and 5 days and stuff like that, or 4 or 5 hours. I said, there's something else. I said, they got wise to what we've been doing, and they've shifted it just enough that you have to be paying attention to what's going on. It's interesting to hear you say that, because as far as I knew, I was the only one that actually caught it. So I was glad to hear you say. Most researchers, when I talk to them, have no clue. They're like, oh no, we're still looking for missing time. I said, well, you're wasting your time. I said, if you're looking for 5 and 6 and 10 hour stretches, you're wasting your time. It's almost, and I want to say it was probably because all the researchers had figured this out. Well, it's like trigger memories versus cover memory. So when I got in the field, people would see a UFO or they'd see an owl, they'd see a deer. It was always a cover memory. And then I realized about 10 years in, that's not what they were. They were trigger memories. These were memories designed to trigger that let you know something happened to you. It was a memory that made you question the memory.
Right.
And that's exactly what it was, as trigger memory. So there was 2 decades that researchers had no idea they were getting it wrong. And it was like E.T. was like, look, idiots, I'm trying to show you, pay attention,
Right.
You've seen this UFO. It's just to let you know something happened to you. And I imagine it's people like you that, because a good majority of people who get taken don't want to remember. Let's just be honest about it. But there are others like us that
go into denial real fast. Yep.
Oh yeah. So this is more for the people who have showed some kind of interest on board the ship, or have worked somehow with the aliens, or showed some expression to wanting to be involved. So they're given trigger memories. And after a while, enough trigger memories start to bring you conscious memory. The more conscious memory you have, the more you can retain. I mean, I know none of us can retain 100%, but still there's a lot that we can hang on to. And then there's downloads. Everybody's going to get
magnetic memory. It don't go away. Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Once it's in your head, it's in there. It's just, unfortunately, sometimes they're overlaying stuff over the top of what you're remembering. So it's not a cover memory or anything. It's just more memories is what it really is. So, and sometimes when you're going for 3 or 4 weeks, those memories can rack up a lot.
Yes, they can. You're exactly correct.
So sometimes you got to take your time.
I get confused sometimes.
Yeah, what's easy to do, because I mean it's a lot to remember, and you know as well as I do. When you're there, you're trying to remember every damn thing you see, hear, smell. You're just like, I gotta remember. And it's hard. And then you got your everyday life when you come home. So sometimes it wants to interfere with what's going on. But I'm just glad to hear other people talk about it, because it's rare. I've been in the field for 40 years. It's rare that I hear anybody even catch on to this. Most of them are still working from the stuff from the 1960s. That's why they can't find it.
Wow.
It's just funny. But I didn't mean to interrupt you. Just when you said it, I had to say something.
Oh, that's all right. I'm glad you did.
Yeah.
I like to hear from the other side. I really do.
So you've never had to have hypnosis, Dolly?
No, never. I knew things were happening. I had memories, but they weren't all connected and cohesive. And I had a mother who did not want me to remember and told me I was dreaming. or I was, Lulu a little bit. And
Yeah.
by the time I hit 14, it was like, oh, enough is enough. I'm going to remember. I'm going to work this out. Either I'm nuts or this is real, for real. And it
Mhm.
felt real to me.
Mhm.
And so I had my chance, and I literally sat on a floor in the dark and replayed it second to second to second to second. And then my mind opened up and it went. And it took, the first part of it. I went for about a year after that. Things were popping up and snapping too. And when I was with them, they just were very patient with me, about what was coming to me. And I was asking all kinds of crazy questions all the time. Do I know this? Is this right? And yeah, you got it. It took a
Right.
while.
Right. I can't, like, how do you know that you hit on the memory? Like, I know you're pushing
Kind of
yourself. Was it through
physical reality.
meditation or just reflecting?
Okay, well, when you think about something that you've physically done and you remember it, okay, one thing that happened to me is I got stung by a jellyfish stung. You don't forget that.
No.
That is the memory. Okay, it's physical. You can smell, see, hear, feel, touch, taste, everything.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you know that memory. You can replay it in your head at any time. And when I was hitting on those memories, where I got sick, I puked. I was like, oh my God, this is overwhelming me, physically overwhelming me, because everything was hitting me sensory into my body at the same time. And I was
Right.
reliving a lot of it. And oh my gosh, it was incredible. Incredible. When you remember, you know it because you can feel it. You can remember the taste, the smell. There's no maybe not, maybe there's no like situation at all. You've got a tangent, serious memory on you and
Right.
relive it
So
and work through it.
for those who are new at this, because Joe and I have talked about this a lot on the Gray Zone and multiple episodes, even here on the Outer Realm. But what signs should they look for? Like, what are traditional things that the people just seem to remember, but they really can't, like you say, connect any dots? So essentially, you've been abducted if, bop, bop, bop.
Okay. You have a hard time processing the day that you're living in. In other words, you'll be doing something and suddenly this memory will start popping in on you and you're like, how could I have had that? Where did that come from? Why do I know this?
Right.
Those are the real big first, something's going on, because you'll suddenly know things that you wouldn't know, and you do know.
Yeah.
Or you remember how something smells. A smell will knock you off. It'll hit you. Or a taste, or even a sound. Craft on the inside sound way different than anything you've ever heard in your life. There are frequencies going on that are incredible. The emitters alone, when we move the emitters to do different things, I can hear the energy from them. It's a sound that I know very well. You don't hear it anywhere else on this earth ever.
Right.
And that's a tangent memory. That's a true, I know this. What? So if you're walking around like that and here's another one, your intuition elevates tenfold. In other words, suddenly I just know stuff. I know that Susan's calling me in 10 minutes. Boop, there she is. Or somebody's talking to you and you hear something else going on from them that isn't what they're saying. And you're looking at them and you're going, you're not telling me the truth. I know what the truth is. It'll elevate you that way. And then here's another one. Somebody around you in your house will say, where were you? Came and checked on you, weren't in the bed. Weren't in the bathroom. We were looking for you. Where'd you go? That's another heads up. Or if small children are 100% accused of sleepwalking all the time, parents will go so far as to try to lock them in the room. That happened to me at first when I was really, really young. Or not sleeping like other people. I was up all the time. I only slept 2 hours a night, and nobody could figure out why. I speak in, I've slowed myself down to talk to y'all. I communicate at an incredible rate of speed. I can give you a whole slews of information rapidly. And
I have heard you go. We've had telephone conversations. Just like, what's going on? I know.
Slow down. hold on, or I'll throw concepts at you in the way I speak.
Right.
And it's because I'm trying to talk to you psychically and verbally at the same time.
Right.
And some people don't get it. They're like, I have a hard time with that.
But what about just being heard and you're, speaking in an ancient language when you're sleeping? You shouldn't be.
Yeah, I do that too. Yeah.
Yeah.
My dad did it a lot. He drove us crazy. He spoke fluent French in his sleep. And we're like, my mother called me in the middle of the night one day and said, come in here and listen to your father. I'm like, why? And she says, you're taking French. And I said, is this French? And I'm listening to him and I'm like, oh my God, he's speaking French. We asked him the next day, do you speak French? Do you know French? Like, he's in the army. He's in the
right.
They do crazy things. And he said, no, I've never learned French. And we're like, oh yeah, sure.
Yeah, sure you have. Yeah. Right. Right.
Yeah, it's just weird.
It was Aramaic for me.
Yeah. There you go. Aramaic. You know how close that is to the Gray's language? It is close.
Well, it's funny because Wayne actually, came in and I was asleep and he heard me speaking Aramaic. But it's interesting because he was going through different languages. He just put them up on YouTube and he goes, no, this is not right. This is not right. This is not right. And I said, what about this one? He goes, yes. But he also said, or close. It was one of the two. So I'm like, wow, it had to have been close. He goes, well, I don't speak Aramaic. But he goes, it sounded a lot like that. So that is really interesting.
Yeah. Like there's some differences. Like the tall Grays have it's close. I'll give you two words. I'm teaching Preston the Gray's tall Gray language, and I'll give you all the beginning of it. Me, at, you, ut, at, ut. Okay.
Sounds a bit Inuit.
Kind of. You're right. And then if I was to say I'm ready, you'd hear atriar, atriar. I'm ready.
Right.
I'm ready. So that's the third word you can learn. And I'm breaking it down because they don't string sentences out like we do. It's all conceptual, speaking. And I even told them, I'll tell you, I don't know if I said it aloud online yet. I probably did. The tall Grays do have a name for their world, where they're from or who they are. And they say Enneoma. They're Enneoma.
Right.
So.
Right.
And it flips me because Inuit. Yeah. And what's the other tribe that's up in Canada?
There's Inuit. There's
Yaquich. Who are they?
No, I feel like I'm being quizzed and now I'm frozen.
Yeah.
There's Inuit. There's Eskimo. There's Nunavut. There's it's eluding me completely, but.
One of the favorite things they say when they're like leaving you is they say Yaguich. Like that. And I can't think of the name. I'm going to lose my mind. I have so much blurting through me right now.
So as soon as I get quizzed, I'm like, I feel like I'm back in school.
A lot of the native languages have a lot of the language of ETs, different.
So who does the clicking and the clacking? Who does that?
Oh. Okay. There's a short Gray. They're kind of bluish looking. Their skin is kind of bluey, and they look like we would call a troll. They click, they clack.
Interesting. I've heard that as well.
Yeah.
I've heard that as well.
They don't speak. They can speak, but that's their language, and it's very rapid. It's very fast. It's sort of like how we can speak assembler language in computers-based languages. That's basically what they're doing. They're that smart, and they program a lot of things. They're responsible for helping to create the AIs that everybody uses.
Great.
Yeah.
So we can thank them for the demise ultimately.
Mm-hmm.
William says, is that the good ones or the bad ones pertaining to what you were talking about with language and the tall whites? Tall Grays, tall whites. Maybe you could tell people the difference too after this, tall Grays and tall whites.
Yeah, there are multiple ethnicities of Grays. The little troll ones, there are Grays that are between 4 feet and 5.5 feet or 6 feet tall. And then there are the very tall Grays, and they can top out at 7.5, 8 feet tall.
Wow.
There are differences in finger configuration. The medium-sized Grays have 3 fingers only. It's like this. And they use a prosthesis on their fingers, like a little cuppy thing, to help them grab things in the third dimension. They're not exactly well suited to be on Earth because of how heavy everything is to them here. So they use that. The tall grays only have 4 fingers. I used to think I was going to lose my pinkies when I was growing up, and my last toe, my pinky toes. I was so convinced that I would end up with 4 fingers, and I never said anything to anybody. Mama knew I was thinking it, and she sat me down one day and she put her hand over mine and she said, "You're always going to have 5 fingers in this body." And I was like, "Okay."
Poor child.
I know.
Traumatized.
Yeah. Every type of ethnicity of ET that visits us are the good guys. You have to understand that we are on this planet in this time, in this dimension, experiencing evolution of soul, of consciousness,
Right.
of learning. And we have a tendency to project negative, bad, evil, demonic stuff on everything and everyone else. Our paranoia is supreme.
Right.
Don't do that. These are highly evolved. They are billions of years in advance of us. And I'm not joking, that's for real. They are light workers. They can move and do anything psychically. You can't even conceive of all the things that they're capable of doing. If you evolve to that point in your evolution, you've wiped away and overcome any negative anything in your body and your mind. And you can tell because they're going up in dimensional space.
Right.
Every dimension has its own rules about what's going on there, and most of them are ready to jump out. The 5th dimensional beings that you see here or know of here that come here are aiding certain other ETs that are in the 3rd dimension because they're getting ready to go to it. The universe is a very busy place. Everybody's learning and everybody's evolving. Yes, there are other planets like this one where they're emotionally mature, and they're trying to overcome what they cause problems for themselves. And we're the only people we have to thank for our attitudes and our belief systems like this. So no, they are not evil, none of them. And anybody who tells you they are is...
So that goes to what William's saying. So 6 or 8 different kinds, most are not very nice, question mark? So you would say most are actually very nice.
They are all very nice. I have never met a negative, evil, dangerous ET. We only tell those stories to ourselves about them. It's not true.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. This is an interesting question because I have my own views on it, but they're so great and wonderful. Are they gods? I think they were more perceived as gods.
No.
Yeah. Cultures would have perceived them that
God
way.
is a universal concept. They don't call God God like we do. We call it the all mind. And their understanding is advanced of us of what God is. But they know that we were all created. We're part of it. The universe has rules. We all exist within those rules. And we all have the pleasure of being autonomous beings and guiding ourselves in wisdom and evolving. So they have a concept of God. They believe in God. They just call it all mind because the whole universe is transmits like your brain does. There are different nodes in your brain and different structures that help you communicate. You think in certain levels, alpha, beta, theta, gamma, delta. The universe uses those same transmission levels to communicate with us. And what we have to do is learn to hear it and use your pineal gland. That's your equipment that you're born given so that you can.
So, okay, here we go. So they don't think of us as labor and livestock.
No.
They don't consider themselves above us.
No, absolutely not. We're all related. Okay, I'm going to get specific here. You know what DNA is. We all have DNA here. All the animals here have DNA. Everything that is alive and breathing and sentient conscious has DNA. Your soul, the soul of an animal, the soul of everything here, we are all together in source in the universe. And if you want to call that being with the all mind, yes, we are all there. Are they part of that system? Yes, they're with us. When you pass from this existence into another one. You can be anywhere in the universe you want to, but DNA is like a key to bring you into the third dimension, so that you can attach to the body and stay in it, so that you learn, and then when your body releases you, you go back to source.
That's the key, is source, and I think this is what's answering Roger's question. Latino Psychic Visions is another show on the network, guys, every Wednesday at 5 p.m. Eastern.
I believe in God. I believe in the Almighty.
Yes.
I also understand that we have met beings in our lifetimes and in our ancestors' lifetimes that were exceptional and came here for a reason to help us and to teach us.
Yes.
And so, yes, I think that Jesus Christ was one of those people. I think Buddha was one of those people. I think Shiva was one of those people. But we as human beings who've cut ourselves off from the knowledge of that, or being able to communicate with it, have made up these phantasmagorical stories and by them. And that's dangerous. If you're not, I think one of the stories in the Bible is, I believe, the story of when we stopped using our abilities and to communicating verbally instead of psychically. I think that's a story that alludes to that. It's a serious one. And everybody here knows that they're psychic. Everybody has intuition. Everybody has moments of real serious psychic stuff going on. Most contactees have the ability to psychometrize, read minds every now and then. You develop mediumistic abilities. You see energy,
and you see all the synchronicities all the time.
Exactly.
You don't have to go searching. Like me, I see synchronicities. I see connections all the time. Like it's almost like everything synchronizes. Like it all makes sense and connects.
Right. Now I'm going to go take the last step in. What I say to you now is this: we're related. All of us are related. If you're human bipedal in this dimension or any other, all ETs are related to one another. We have a human genome amongst all of us. You're related to all the animals on this planet. Do you look like them? Do you have all the same abilities they do? No. But we are all related, and we're definitely related to very specific ETs. And the majority of them that visit us, we are all related to.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. Well, we know we're related, aren't we? So Chris says, did God create religion to make the vastness of his or her, its creation easier to understand, or is religion all man-made? I opt for that one personally.
I think it's complicated, and what I believe is this: when we first came here, we were talking to the All Mind all the time. We have an open line to him, if you want to call him, her, it, they, whatever.
Right.
Okay, it's the All Mind.
Right.
And at some point, we decided to turn ourselves away from it and not listen. We started concocting our own vision or our own control over each other by using those concepts and writing them down. We walked away from it and then created our own understanding of it to control each other.
Right.
Everything is about control here, big time. I mean, we're controlled now. You're a slave. Sorry. There are people who absolutely own us. If you think about it, I mean, you can't do anything in life without answering to something. Okay?
Well, I mean, everything is a number. You to prove, that you are a commodity. When you're born, you get a birth certificate. When you work, you have a social insurance, or you guys call them something different, Social Security. When you die, you have you get like employee numbers. You die, you get a death certificate. You get buried or you get cremated, you have a number for your grave. You have a number for your cremation. Everything is a number. Everything is a part of a business. You're either a commodity or you're a liability. It's hard for us to look at it, but it's what makes the world go round. Driver's licenses, ID numbers, account numbers. It's just like a cycle.
Right.
It's all symbolism. You know what I mean?
And there are the laws that order you to obey these concepts or precepts in your life. And
I agree, Kathy.
It's really sad. ET does not do this at all. They have no federation whatsoever. There's no such thing. They have consensus. I'm going to bring somebody up. I love Whitley Strieber. His book is wonderful. Okay. He called it communion. And
Yes.
it is an absolute great allegory for how they act with one another. They are in communion with themselves and everything else.
Mm-hmm.
And their concept of how to work together is by consensus. And age for them is important, or wisdom gained. You're the wisest of them all, or who they go to or they sit with, and everybody shares a knowledge with everybody else, and then
Mm-hmm.
they reach a consensus before they decide to do something really complicated or big. They have moral standards, not laws,
Mm-hmm.
standards that are absolutely in their minds imprinted on their soul. Their soul knows the difference between right and wrong. Our souls know the difference between
So
right
why
and
do you
wrong
think we just can't get it? Why can't
because
we play nice in the sandbox, Dolly?
because we're not hearing what our soul is saying to us, our consciousness.
Okay, so we're disconnected.
From it, right? We're
We're
just
disconnected. Okay.
when we were younger, you and
Yeah.
I,
Yes.
our parents taught us, let your intuition. You get that funny feeling in your stomach, listen to
Yes.
it. It's
Exactly right.
right from wrong. That's your
Yeah.
intuition talking to you. But
Mm-hmm.
now that's been dummied out of everybody. Nobody talks about that. Being wrong is being right here. People are wild and do crazy things, and they don't have any communication whatsoever with their higher intuition, their higher consciousness.
Mm-hmm.
And that's our problem. And we cause that to happen, and we have to fix it.
Mm-hmm.
It's up to
Nice.
us.
Good. I got to
Right.
some comments. Adrian, hello. I think our spirits learn through the physical, so source, the non-physical, can learn through our experiences via our creator spirits, who also learn through us. All the spirit beings whose bodies are in stasis are awakening. Experiment almost complete. Wow, that's
Mm.
interesting.
Well, it's not an experiment. I love you, and I'm going to tell you the truth, okay? It is not an experience, an experiment. This is how the universe works. This is how the All Mind created us to interact with one another universally. You choose the road you're going to walk down each life that you live. You choose how you're going to learn this time, knowing full well that everything you do impacts somebody else, and
Mhm.
everybody else is learning as well. So if I do something stupid to this person is already contracted,
Right.
knowing that I'm going to come at them with this, so they learn too. It's a
Right.
give and a take. Karma is not what you think it is. Karma is us stopping ourselves from making the same mistakes over and over and over again. We learn that way. If we
Mhm.
don't get it right the first time, we will redo it till we do.
Right.
That is what karma is. And we create our own karma, nobody else. The All
Mhm.
Mind gives us autonomy. We have the right to work out what we need to work out. Now, here's the big concept. This is what's hard about living here. This is high, stressful. This is like, it's been said that when you come to Earth, you've come to the Thunderdome. Okay.
Thunderdome, I love it. It's
No, you're
true.
going to get
The
hurt. You're going
school
to
of
cry.
hard knocks,
You're going to learn
man.
the hard way, baby, man.
It's
Oh, yeah.
true.
And
School of hard knocks.
And
Yes. Yes.
personally, I'm not coming back to this. No offense to anybody. I'm
Oh,
done.
I know. I
And I want
know.
everybody here to just get out of here. We all deserve that. Honestly, every last one of us deserves to figure this out. Okay.
Right. Right.
I said something to somebody the other day, and I'm going to repeat it here. My mission in this lifetime is so that nobody dies stupid. I want you all to know the truth. And the only way you're going to get that is to awaken. Connect to your consciousness.
Right.
Hear the truth. Once you do, you will.
Right. Okay. So we're going to move along. People, please bear with me because we've got like 7 chat rooms coming down to like one soundboard. So I'm jumping around a lot, but I have to go in order. And there's the only one that doesn't have a chat room is Roku. So here's Roger. If we're all related, how is it we speak different languages and are a different race? Well, I'm thinking I'm going more by, by DNA, by energy, by this physical being much different than, our other
We
lifetimes.
were all taught a base language in the beginning. We all
Yeah.
knew language. And it was
Right.
not only psychic, but it was verbal as well.
Yeah.
When you lose your ability to hear, psychically hear, and then you're moved miles across the planet to somewhere else and grouped with a whole bunch of other people by the very people who want to enslave you, you learn to speak another language, because how do I communicate with somebody that can't communicate with me? You create your own,
You adapt, you conform.
Right. Every language on this planet is constantly evolving and changing. We add words to our dictionary all the time. We don't speak English as an only language. This language that we speak comes from Latin, comes from German, comes from Greek, and a couple other things. And now we're throwing in Oriental languages, Latino languages. I mean, American is very specifically a melting pot of language that evolves. That's how it happened. We've had thousands of years to do this, and we created one big mishmash. I want to be very specific about something else. You are human. That is your race. You are a Homo sapien. That's what we all are. It doesn't matter what color your skin is, or your eyes, or your hair. None of that. The shape of your mouth or the length of your limbs has nothing to do with anything. Our DNA is Homo sapien. Human genome. We look different because we live topographically in different places, and it altered how we, grow to accept that. Now, here's another thing that came into this. ETs are ethnic as well. And there are the Polynesians and the Asians who come from Lemuria. And Lemuria is a word that we use. It is not what they use, but that chromosome distinction in the DNA comes from outside, behind the Pleiades. It's
the ancient culture of Lemuria, the Lemurians.
It's way beyond the Pleiades. I call it the Pleiades. The Pleiades is a star nursery. It cannot support any life. Everything in it is hot and evolving, and it eats galaxies like Andromeda eats galaxies. It is a huge furnace. Nothing lives there. It's shooting energy out and creating new worlds and everything, and then eating up other stuff. But what's behind it, and the reason we were trained to look at that constellation is because we're here and we can't see everything. What was behind it was in the direction that they came from.
Right.
So they have the darker hair, the darker skin, or the different tone, and the slant, the high cheekbones. All native peoples all have it. Almost everybody here actually has a smidge of that in them. And there are the Nordics, and then there are, you look Nordic, and then there are the different Baltic peoples and stuff like that. We all evolved over time to look different, but we're not different. There's only one race of us. One of the things that the government has done to human, is to divide you up and make you think you are different. You are not.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. That's an earth thing. That's a powers that be. That's a human
we need to
constructs.
stop thinking of each other as enemies.
What about RH negative, partially repel? RH negative blood is interesting because some people believe that people with RH negative blood cannot even get like full on AIDS, for example. Not that they can't get HIV.
That is absolutely not true.
No? God, that's all over the place.
All right, I got it.
Well, you're a nurse, so I'm going to take your word for it. I'm just going by stuff that's floating around out there.
I got real lucky, and they don't know why, and they checked me for a long time, years. Every year I got retested. As a nurse, working in the ER, I do PRN work, okay? Which means I'll go to another hospital or somewhere else they need help right now, and I'll PRN myself out from the hospital that I work at. And I was at a heart hospital, and we had a patient in 1981 who had AIDS, but we didn't know what to call it back then. He was he was in trouble. And I was in the room. He was in isolation, ICU. He was very, very, very sick. And an aide came in to dump the garbage bag. This is Stone Age nursing, okay?
Wow.
The bags, the needle boxes were cardboard, okay? They weren't what they are now. They're impenetrable. Needle can't go through the boxes they use now, but back then they could. And she put the needle boxes into a red bag, tied it up, and swung around to walk out the door and slammed me in the back of my calf. One of the needles went through the bag, through the box, into me. I sat there and I was like, oh, shoot. And I did what I had to do. And then I called my supervisor and said, you need to cover me. I got to go to the ER. She said, why? And I said, I just got popped. I went to the ER and they dosed me with tons and tons and tons of gamma globulin, which is the number one thing you use as a counter effect to autoimmune disorders or certain viruses that are deadly, and that'll hit you in the base level of your chromosomes. And I was sent home after that, and then I had to be checked every 6 months. Now they only had one test for AIDS then, and it was hit and miss. And I could not have children. I couldn't do anything. They warned me, don't. You got to change your sex life, all of it. I was like, great, thank you very much. And every year after that, for years, I was being retested for the original AIDS.
Wow.
And I never came down with it. Now, I want to tell you all the secret. Most of the AIDS drugs that they have out now are based from gamma globulin. And if you don't believe me, call the CDC and ask one of their guys to talk to you about it. They are.
Right.
Globulin is the most potent, powerful everything cellularly that you can pop into your body. I just happen to have A negative blood, and they went crazy over that. And years went by, and about 2 years ago, because I follow it now, I'm in a program. They decided that a neg is not, you're not more resistant to it, but you are more able to fight off things initially.
I'm also negative blood
come
type.
back and get you.
Yeah.
And they told me that the gamma globulin they gave me right away like that helped prevent that from eating into my system and giving me. So I'm very, very lucky. I'm myself lucky. I didn't have a baby until I was 32 years old.
Right.
I knew.
Just to be sure. Yeah. Yes. Yeah.
I will tell you I want to tell you the difference between a neg, and most people don't realize this. When you say negative, that means that you have no rhesus DNA.
That's right.
Okay, that's it, period. That's what negative means. You have no rhesus DNA. You're more likely as a negative person to have Neanderthal. So we were
But up to 30,000 years ago.
Right. We were breeding
that wasn't a thing.
With human prototypes back then, Cro-Magnon, Manchaman, all that stuff. So yeah, we carry DNA from everything, everything has sex. Okay. And it's just a prototype gene in you. Your genes, if you straighten them out and looked at them, you would see eons in your genes. You would see things there that you don't even know what the hell that is. Where does that come from? Okay, so there's no way that we are any different from one another blood type wise. Now, I will tell you this, A blood is more prevalent to the Basque, to Swedes, okay, people in Ireland, because
that's me. Yeah.
That. And if you're a neg, you're more likely to have Basque genetics, which I do.
Right.
And I'm pretty sure you do as well.
Oh, yeah.
It's prevalent in my genetic history. And, that just means that this weird bunch of people who isolated themselves for whatever reasons they decided all had A negative blood and didn't breed out with anybody. And then in modern times, a couple thousand years ago, they started moving out and it started breeding back and forth with everybody. The way we traced my genes is that my Viking ancestors found the Basque and bred with them. That's how my history came down. That's all it is. Your genetics dial up every time you have a baby. Your baby has different genetics from you. It's a roulette wheel, a giant roulette wheel with wheels within wheels within wheels. And every one of those wheels turn, and then beep, 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 you've got this person. You have a very diverse genetic history. That's why inbreeding is so dangerous, because it brings up not dominant genes, but recessive, and recessive can cause problems. So, yeah.
Right. Yeah, because I mean, up until, what was it, roughly 30,000 years ago, you saw brown eyes, brown haired people.
Right.
You didn't see a lot of different hair colors, the negative blood type, blue eyes, green eyes. So in your opinion, all of a sudden everybody just started coming out of the woodwork and producing? Is what you're essentially saying.
Something that I can talk about.
Yeah.
Because I learned this from Mama and the ETs. I studied it with them.
Right.
Genetically here, the science knows that the maternal gene goes back to one female who is blue-eyed and red-headed. All of us have that gene in us. Every single ethnicity on this planet has redheads. Blacks have redheads. Japanese have redheads. Russians have redheads. There are redheads throughout the entire population globally, all of them. And that the maternal gene, the dominant maternal gene, all of us go back to that one blue-eyed redhead. Who she was, they're not sure. They don't know where she came from. And when I realized that, when I learned that, and I was older, I was a nurse, I'm like to stay up on the science. I said, okay, so tell me, where did that come from?
Right.
Okay, so I'm going to get technical here. Every 12,000
Okay.
years, this planet changes. And
Okay.
we go and we come. And each group that comes back here has different things going on.
Right.
In this iteration of us, a redhead came. And that's how we know that the redheaded family that came, the dominant family that came, and if you want to call it Noah, you go right ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Noah, somebody in Noah's family had red hair and blue eyes.
Right.
So that's where it comes from. But we have a tendency to mix. Some people isolate themselves, and you can see different ethnicities strongly representing. But like in this country, we're mixed up so much, you don't know anything until you do your DNA and pull it out, and you go, wow, So yeah. So in this iteration, this 12,000 year cycle we're in, that's where the redheads came from.
Right. So
Yeah.
Kathy wants to know what origin would be for AB negative. That's actually very rare. Whether you're positive blood type or negative, AB is really rare. It's the
A blood
rarest.
and B blood have polarity. Everything is polarity in your body. Everything in the universe, you negative and positive. And the polarity of A blood and B blood, when you mix it genetically, can join together. When the egg comes with the sperm, and you've got an A and a B, and genetically can create that bond, so that person has AB. You have a parent who's A and a parent who's B, and you come out AB. And that's
Right.
because the polarity of your blood and the genetics that you were given matched you up that way. And if both parts are neg, you're going to be AB neg, period.
Right. Okay.
I will tell you one more thing.
No, absolutely. I'm just tinkering with the banners.
The blood type O O negative is considered the universal donor. Every single person on this planet can use O neg blood in an emergency.
Right.
So how about that? It's very cool.
Yeah. That's in my family also. I have family members who were. My grandfather actually was on the one side, and they were constantly getting him to donate blood, constantly. And you're going to the Wayback Machine. The poor man was forever paying blood.
Yeah.
I know.
Yeah.
I know. So it's like, okay. But going back up a little bit here, Tamara says, going back to conversing languages, if you try to have a conversation with someone from any ancient English group, you would not understand them, and they could not under you as our language, or understand you as our language is slang, a mix of several languages. You're not wrong. Even when I was, I travel all over the world, and being in France, they really had a hard time. They're very patient with me because I do speak French, but it was very, very different, even though it was French, than Parisian or French. France French.
Our brains are habitual.
Yeah.
And children who learn multiple languages very young do that easily because their brain is very fluid and very elastic, and they can process it quickly that way, and they have a total understanding of what they're hearing and doing. But if you only have one language throughout your entire life, your brain locks down on that, and it makes it hard for you to hear or understand anything from any other language. You're blocked off from it. Your brain won't go there. That's the reason why it's hard to understand anybody else outside of your language group. That's why they quit. In schools, when I was in school, in elementary school, they started teaching us Spanish in Florida right away. We leave the class. In the morning, that was the first thing we did. Yes, Señora Cramo, or Señorita Safran. Okay. Okay. My legal name is Dorothy. It is amazing to me that I remember it, but I like this big. But I came here already knowing, or into school, I learned Swedish first. My family was Swedish, and I was spoken Swedish to first, and then I had to learn English, and I was confused. I'm surprised I I did as well as I did. I have a
Right.
hard time translating because I'm thinking in Swedish and
Mhm.
translating to English just like that. I'm rapid
Right.
doing it. And sometimes I snag and go, oh, wait a minute, I have to think of the word.
Even English, though, on this side of the world is very different. It is very like it is very slang. Yeah, Chris, that's what we were just saying. Canadian French is very different than European French. I know because I basically lived the experience. You know, I've been to France, different parts of France, a couple times, and just failing miserably. I think I'm doing okay. Hey, Colette.
Cuban French is different also. If you
Oh
hear them
yeah,
talking, you go, wow. You know, they have colloquialisms like you wouldn't believe. I mean,
yeah,
it's
yes, yeah. But I just find it hilarious. I'll just even go to the States and speak, and people are like, oh, you have an accent. No, I don't. Apparently, I do. Apparently, like even our English is very, very different than America. Well, it's just very. They'll have American English apparently, and then we have, Canadian English, and
It's
so
colloquial speech. It's like Southern and Western, okay? In the South, we speak differently than they do in the
yeah,
West. And we have isms and colloquialisms that people out there
mm,
they don't understand what we're talking about. And that's
no.
the same with dialects. They change. They become part of a group of people that are close to one another for a great period of time.
I
So
could
yeah,
be in Europe and they can tell by how I speak English that I'm not American.
right.
They'll ask me Canadian or American, and then I'll speak like, oh, Canadian. So they know right off the bat. People love Canadians on average. Maybe not now because of our fearless leader, but you know,
It has nothing to do with the people. I don't live with people
I
that
know we used to really love
I know.
Canada. So
Don't blame us for the one we got, okay? So
yeah, they feel for us now. You poor people. I know. So I know, I know. Let's talk about, and I'm only bringing it up because there is this stereotype. William says, is for partial, like this is going back to RH negative, partially reptilians. A lot of people, the reptilians get blamed for a lot of stuff, I have to tell you. So what is your um take on
understanding.
reptilians? Yeah, I'm just going to put it out there.
Okay.
What's your take on reptilians? Yeah.
Okay. What I've learned about it is that ET knows what they are. They are sentient, they are intelligent, but they are not from space, from out there. They are from here. They've been here
Right.
all along.
Right.
They were here first, just saying. We were on Mars first, and we came here as an alternative to being there. And when we came in, they were like, and an agreement was made between ET and them to share the planet way, way, way long ago. Okay, we're
Right.
talking 280 million years ago.
Right.
So that has been going swimmingly until now, and they have been found, they have been captured, they have been used, they have been tortured, and that's as far as I'm going to go with it. What you think they are not. And I feel all bad about this situation with them because they are being tortured and it's not right. And you don't know the full extent of what they are, who they are, and why they are. If you want to use the word cryptid, you can, but they are sentient like we are. They think like we do. And
Well, I think, I always go back to ancient cultures because ancient cultures emulated, what they saw, what they respected, what they revered,
yeah,
whatever it is they saw. You look at the ancient structures all over the world. Look at petroglyphs all over the world. There are monuments to reptilians. People, that's for a reason. That's
yeah,
for a reason. The
funny
ancients
thing,
emulated. They
right,
existed with these beings. They were educated by these beings, and yet there are stories, and there's a story comes out of South Africa about and goes back. This is a tribal elder talking about what his people had passed down through oral history about reptilians coming in and these old crickety ships. They weren't necessarily there in that part of the world. Doesn't mean they didn't come here from, like we drive a plane from one continent to another, who knows, but they were not very kind to these people.
well, we weren't kind to each other either. We all from here. Think
Yeah.
about that. We all
Yeah.
learn the hard lessons, and we all have to learn the difference between being good to one another and not. I will tell you what I am aware of something. We have examples on this planet of different kinds of animals,
Hmm.
who are somewhere between the two. There's if you see reptiles or dinosaurs, and then us, they're cold blooded and we're warm blooded. But funny thing, we have two animals on this planet that shouldn't even be here and are. One is a platypus. It's a mammal. It lays eggs, and then an echidna. It's a mammal and it lays eggs as well. And then we have pouch animals like possums and
Kangaroos.
koalas and kangaroos, and that's different too. And
The
you
marsupials.
can
Yeah.
get a brain and realize that there's more going on than you know. And instead of saying, well, this is bad and this is good, and labeling it before you know is not okay.
So we're
And
just like a zoo planet, because I've heard that term often. A
yeah,
zoo planet, a mix of literally
the whole
everything.
universe is a garden, okay? The whole thing. And
Right.
we're in it together. And we depend on one another. We coexist together. We're
Hmm.
all here for each other and
Hmm.
everything. And one of the hardest things about living in the third dimension is that everything eats everybody else. Okay, we're all hungry. We're all
Hmm.
carnivorous. Don't deny it. You have the teeth for it. Trust me.
Yeah.
Well, even horses will drink milk. Okay,
Right. Right.
so don't tell me you're not a carnivore. You most certainly are. You are
Mhm.
a herbivore as well, but you
Right.
started out as a carnivore. Trust me. Okay,
Right.
you drank milk first. That is carnivorous. Before your
Right.
teeth even came in, and meat tastes good to everybody. I don't care who you are.
Hmm.
Everything eats everything else. We
It's true.
sacrifice
Yeah.
for one another so that we can exist. Our type of life, biological life, cannot exist any other way. Now, when you go to other dimensions, that changes. Okay,
Hmm.
but here
Hmm.
you have to eat. Everything eats, and
Hmm.
if something is hungry and it shows up, you got to ask yourself, am I dinner or am I a friend? Back then, that's exactly how things went. But then
Hmm.
I did see a reptilian once. I didn't even know what to call it when I was younger. Um, I met it in the Everglades. I was out on a mound and I was doing it, and like a dig, and I was looking for Indian burial mound stuff, and I was trying to prove something with one of my teachers, but I was out there by myself that time, and I was closing down camp, getting ready to go home, and I had a canoe on the mound opposite me because that one wasn't proving fruitful, but this one was, and I just moved everything over except for the canoe. And I was standing up to get ready to, like put the backpack on and everything. It was on the ground, and the hair went up on the back of my neck. Now I am psychic; I can hear people think, and all I kept getting this message was food. And I turned around and I saw it over my left shoulder, well, my right shoulder, and I was like, "Oh my god!" I didn't even think about it. It was big, and it had.
They're not small, no, not by any
I was like,
means.
"Oh
No.
no!" And my
Yeah.
nerves kicked in, and I ran. I ran off into sawgrass in the glades, tearing myself up to get to my canoe. And I didn't even jump in my canoe. I just kept pushing it away. That thing had to have let me go. It could have outrun me at any time. It let me go. And I was grateful and did not go back. I was a month before I worked the nerve up to go get my stuff. And
Hmm.
through everything. It went through my bag. You could see that it was shuffling through things and looking at stuff, probably looking for food. And it left a huge, huge impression on me. And I've always respected that
Mm.
exist and don't mess with it unless it tells you point blank, I'm not going to eat you or something, because they can.
Right,
Right?
right. I think there is a lot of misconceptions about them, and I think there's just a lot of propaganda with them. I mean, you're getting into the whole bit about, all of these people out there of power
Right.
are actually ruled by, or some are even believed to be, reptilian people. Do you think that could be a thing? I'm addressing all the stuff that's out there right now because it's something that people ask. So I'm just going to ask the crazy questions. But I mean, if you think about it, they've been here all this time. They want things to be run a certain way. Things have always been run a certain way. And all of a sudden, you've got us, and all of a sudden we're doing things a certain way. Like they'll say, well, it's a very, draconian way of existing. We have very draconian laws. Well, what's a draconian?
A dragon type person. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, yeah. I mean, they're another race of reptilian beings.
Maybe, I don't know. I will tell you this. I have a weird skew in my life because I know what my genetics and I know who I'm related to. And I wasn't going to absolutely admit this openly, but I'm going to now because it's important for y'all to understand why I'm thinking the way I do.
Michael. Yeah.
I am a Plantagenet. I am related to Edward II. He is a direct grandfather. I'm related all the way back to Charlemagne.
Mm.
And I'm also a royal steward. And our family broke off from that and came to America for a reason because they were tired of all of it. There was the War of the Roses kind of snagged it for everybody in our family, and they said, bye, see ya. I've been warned my entire life, do not even think about going over there, ever. Do not tell them who you are, none of it, because they knew that this was going to be a problem later on, and they went looking for one of us. He's in Australia. He just passed away. His whole family is probably in the true line of succession to the throne, and they know it. We're not reptilians. I'm a Nordic. I'm a Basque. I'm French, Irish, German. I'm about as human as you can get. I have never seen anybody shapeshift in my entire life, and that's saying something.
I don't so much believe in the shapeshifting either. I believe that they have the ability to project how it is they want you to see them. Exactly. If
your mind is really well organized and you're that ability-wise high up on that scale, yes, they can cover your memory with something.
I agree.
I think that's what that is. And I think there's too much CGI going on lately. That's
a whole lot of that, yeah. Chris, yes, of course. I have a question. It's not about ETs, but it's along those lines. May I ask it? Of course. Please, feel free. We'd love to hear it. It is open discussion. Whatever you want to talk about. Whatever, yeah, exactly. Go. But no, okay. I'm going to jump over before Chris gets his question over. We'll see who's quicker. Thoughts on a star fleet, since it's may the 4th be with you. Bam. Yeah. Do we have a star fleet? Do we have a whole
no
solar warden? No, nothing like that. No.
What you've seen gone into space is what they've got, and they can't stay out there very long because gamma radiation kills you absolutely. There's only a limited amount of time you can stay out there before your DNA starts to deraz and become injured from it. So yeah.
Right. Okay. So what do you make of all this that's going on? I'm just grabbing your banner as we speak. So
I think it is a deliberate act to confuse, confound, and misdirect humanity. And I think that something's going on behind the scenes, and you have to think about it. It's not hard to conceptualize in your mind or understand that we're in a total trouble because they're all getting ready to do something bad. And they want ETs to look like the bad guys, and they'll do and say anything to make you think that. They're directly narrative that way. When you say national security threat, that's serious. And they've developed all these new fandangled things, these fronts that are going to convince you of it. And they've got back engineered craft now. And so that's all I'm going to say.
Okay. Because there is a really healthy belief. Sorry, I'm just getting out here. I'm just downloading your banner that just got here. So,
good.
Thank you for that.
Thank you, Michael.
Okay, hold on before we go. The question's up. Sorry, I didn't see it. I'm just slacking off. So, Dolly, what do you think about channeled entities such as Seth by Jane Roberts and others? Fantastic question.
When I hear about things like this, I want to know why everybody doesn't test out if this is correct. In other words, there's ways of scientifically proving or disproving the theory that somebody's channeling. And I find it interesting because all channeling is using your psychic ability.
Right.
if
Isn't
you
it a form of possession? You're channeling, allowing something to
yes.
enter into your body.
Well, thank you very much.
Yeah,
Exactly. I agree with you
yeah,
100%. I think you're talking to an entity here that's not such a nice guy or girl.
right.
And because let's go straight to my experience. I can speak with Talata at distance. I can speak to Mama at distance. I can remote view. And it is nothing like that at all. They
Hmm.
don't possess me at all. They don't
Right.
speak through me. I hear them and I can communicate with them, and then I can repeat myself what I
Hmm.
heard them say. And sometimes Talata will say, "Get a piece of paper and a pen and write this down," because he knows bloody well I'm going to mess it up. Because
I forget. Yeah.
and so I write it down word for word. He's very patient with me, and I write it down, and that's how I communicate with them, and they communicate with me. Channeling,
Mm,
I've never actually gone to watch somebody. Preston has. Um,
mm,
I want everybody to understand something. I'm talking to y'all and I'm saying things. I am not a guru. I am not a god. I am not a prophet. I am not nothing.
mhm.
Just like you. And if you want to hear what I have to say, that's great. But I want you to take what you heard me say and prove it to yourself. Take it apart, scrutinize it, think about it, and then own what you understand about it.
Yeah, because absolutely people, think that this may be just your point of view. What makes your point of view
Exactly.
fact,
And
right?
I respect your opinion, but I also would respect even more if you went to prove me right or wrong in your own mind. And that means you have to do a little bit of work. You have to use some scientific method or research or whatever. Don't sit there and just believe anybody. If you're
Right,
saying this person is right, this person is right, you haven't done your homework. Prove it
right.
to yourself.
Chris says, Jane Roberts was very skeptical about Seth and was never possessed by him. So channeling,
Yeah. You have to ask yourself who Seth was to begin with.
yeah, that's the big one. Yeah.
You have to research the actual historical accounts of who Seth is. I'll
Right.
give you, for instance, here. Everybody talks about Atlantis. There is absolutely no proof except by one man's words that Atlantis ever existed or was anything, and that would
Mhm.
be Plato. And he never finished telling his story because he died. If you read Plato, you would know this.
Mhm.
Atlanta is an idea. It is a theory. It is not proven. And
Mhm.
therefore, don't talk about it like it's real and it existed and it was.
Mhm.
All you can do is theorize and wonder until you know. And the only way you're going to know is when you leave here or wide open psychic and ask the All Mind, well, what's up with that? And,
Yeah.
you know,
Where is it really?
yeah,
So, where is it really? All
okay.
right. Tamara says true physical mediumship is something that needs to be trained for, and it is physically hard on the person's heart as the amount of energy going through the body. I come from a family of physical mediums, and no, I don't practice. There you
Wow.
go.
Okay. All I can say about this, and you very well may be correct. I'm not sure. I have mediumistic abilities. I always have had them, but I'm wide open psychic. So I see things and feel things that are part of that. Okay.
Yeah. Right.
And it is taxing from time to time. I get overwhelmed, and I'll tell you one that really overwhelmed me. It sent me to the floor in a dead pass out. When the towers went down, when the second tower hit, I was
Hmm.
slammed by those who were perishing so hard. I felt their energy go right through me, and I passed out right in the middle of the floor. And I was shocked when I came to it. I couldn't get up. It was like having an epileptic seizure. I mean, I was like, oh, and my dad was so worried about me, and my mom was like, put ice on her. It'll, you know,
Walk it off, girl.
no, don't do that.
Yeah.
You know,
Right.
had to work it off, so
Yeah.
that very well may be true. That's the first
Yeah.
real physical attack I had from that ever.
Mhm.
And I was shocked. Otherwise, I just take it as it comes. I don't
Mhm.
go out of my way to stick a sign up and say, okay, I'm a medium and you can come to me, blah, blah, blah. I've never done that. Now,
Mhm.
every now and then somebody will tell me something and I immediately will get an impression or something will hit me and I know the answer to it. I know. And
Mhm.
it's up to me at that point to take the chance of contacting them back and giving something to them to help
Mhm.
them. But it's me offering the help. I don't do it for money. I don't do it. saying, and it's usually when missing children happen. Okay, that I will immediately attend to, immediately. Or an adult even who's missing or whatever, that kind of thing. Those are the ones I pay attention to. But I don't go looking for it, because if I did, that would physically attack me. I know it. I don't. That's how you push negative energy away from you. You just like go, nope, not today.
Push
And
it. Energy workers move it away all the time. You know, it's that's not hard actually.
Right.
Adrian says another theory for lack of Atlantean evidence that they were spiritual beings, not in the physical. No bones, no artifacts. I like that theory.
That's a good theory.
We're here in energy, right?
That we're here.
Yeah.
Well,
William, I think Atlanta is just one more representative period in time, not an actual place. I don't think they all live just in one little place, in a little town. Yeah.
Like we've had a lot of iterations. You know, the dinosaurs were 285 million years ago, roughly. Okay. And here we are. And a lot went on here in between all those times. And a lot of periods, you know, the planet flops over and it flops back, flops over and it flops back. There are floods, you know, Noah had a big one. It's just, you know, the pyramids, all the pyramids on the planet were left as an open source of information for us to understand what this planet's doing to itself.
Do you think we're getting it, or do you think we're all...
Oh, I think that the powers that be here absolutely know it.
Well, they have, you know, the ancient, they have that, all that ancient knowledge. You know, all those mystery schools, everything else like that stuff that, you know, they have that information. It's just the rest of us don't have that information. You know, well, thank you, Chris. We're always happy to have you here. Glad you love it. I think that's part of, you know, the whole conditioning. I have to say, we are conditioned. You know, we're conditioned into our religions, into our schooling, you know, into the parenting, the whole thing. Everything has a rule. Everything is conditioned. We have to do certain things at certain times of our lives, and that's the way it goes. But there are others, you know, who don't have that same conditioning. They're more privileged. And when I say privileged, it's not always about money. It's just about information. You're just in the right circles, you know, and some of these come from the most unsuspecting people that you would ever think. They, again, go back oral history. Do you know the Druids had more information, and you can't find it because it's through oral history, and they were the keepers of knowledge.
Right. Yes, absolutely.
You know,
it amazes me that we don't do that now. History is nothing for us. One of the things I like about Canadians is that you all love history. I mean, you love it.
We do.
You constantly live it in your daily lives. Here, not so much. It's not that important here, and that makes me so sad. You know?
I think there's a lot of places that don't revere history. I mean, I think how many people have you seen trying to erase history?
Exactly.
Because they think if they're going to erase it, that it just means it didn't happen.
Right.
How much of our history have those who come before us with authority try to erase? I mean, we're finding out of place artifacts all the time. We're finding history under the waves, under the canopies of very thick, dense forests. I'm sorry, it's there. It's rising up. Or, you know, we found continents. Two other continents. We're finding so much, and there's so much more to come. I'm sorry, there was so much more here than us. We're like, what, the third, fourth kick at the can on this planet?
Yeah. Well, maybe I know about 8 of them. E.T. taught me 8 of them. To go further back than that is a little disconcerting, so I stopped at 8. And every time we've been here, we have done things a little bit differently, or we tried new things differently. Each group that comes back is already has pre-information, and they start their societies and they bring it through. One of the oldest societies on this planet is Masonic. Okay, and the Masons came out of the Templars, literally, I think, but they know that Masonry existed all the way back to Jesus Christ's time and before. And basically, it is they are not magicians. They are literally knowledge, foundational knowledge that keeps civilization going and understanding and living properly. And one of the things that ripped me up was in this country, in Georgia, as a matter of fact, when they took down the stones in Elberton.
Yes,
And that
yes.
broke my heart. And they covered it up, and then they destroyed it completely. They put them to dust. And that was done by the Masons, absolutely. It was left there. And a lot of people have huge conspiracy theories about it. And if you, there are pictures of it now. They know what they said. You can go back and look that up.
Mhm.
Use your mind and your intuition and your cognitive process to ferret out what they meant by what they put on there. And this is something that came from the iteration before us, actually, and we didn't learn it right away. And they thought if they put it up, that we would pay heed to it and critically think about what they were saying.
But it went the other way.
Yes.
It went as a big conspiracy. It went as something that we had to fear.
Right. Right. Because we all know you have to have fear. That's how we're controlled. We're all cattle and we're in chutes, and they're going to scare us anywhere they want us to go. They're going to hurt us up and all kinds of things. We are told what to do. We are directed, and there every, in the commercial, you remember in the 60s when they were talking about, oh, there's subliminal stuff going on. You bet your hiney there, guys.
You betcha.
Now they've got a million different ways to tell you what to do without you even realizing it.
Mm-hmm.
And fear is at the top of the list. Fear this. Don't fear that. This is
Right.
better.
Again, it's conditioning.
Yes. Right.
It's all conditioning. I think if you are, I mean, let's face it. We'll go back to, let's just talk about high strangeness on average. I mean, I was raised in a home not to fear seeing dead people, and I didn't. I wasn't discouraged when I saw them. It was just like, oh, well, who'd you see? How many children out there are being told, you're stupid, you're silly, don't tell people that, they're going to think you won't have any friends. Like, this is conditioning.
Right.
And so that ability gets suppressed, right? So the same thing with having experiences or embracing our experiences with those that, from the stars or from the core of the planet, wherever it is, that they're all coming from. I was not taught to fear that. It was kept from me, obviously, from them. I think I knew, I was aware of it as a child because I used to sit and look at the night sky all the time looking for them.
Right.
So I knew then it was more acceptable, right? And then you become an adult, it's like, no.
Yeah.
Hell to the no, that's not gonna be a thing. So I think it's my adult mind somewhere along the lines that went, no, I've had that. I don't want, that's enough. Right. And when I became a parent, I put everything on the shelf. I was like, no, I don't want any of this because I didn't want my children to be, well, because I didn't bank on them seeing. Like I experienced everything, but I didn't really bank on them experiencing or seeing things. And I didn't discourage them from it. If they saw something, I'm like, oh, okay, what'd you see? But as now that they're all adults, are saying, oh yeah, my son's like, yeah, I got pulled through a window. What? And where the hell was I? Kind of a parent was I? I got yanked through a window. He goes, oh yeah, well, it was closed. What?
Yeah. Well, you can't stop it. It happens.
He was terrified of Grace.
Was
terrified.
He really? Wow.
So, and now I know why. But now he's calmed down a lot. He goes, okay, he goes,
cool. I was never terrified of them for some reason, but I don't, genetically speaking, and it's not my propensity to be afraid of anything. I'm one of those people.
Right. Yeah.
I have a tendency to become a warrior. And if you threaten me in any way, shape, or form, you will answer to me immediately. Okay. I'm one of those people.
Yeah.
And the first.
Threaten my cubs? Oh.
Yeah. Oh, mine too. Imagine my shock and awe when my daughter came out of her room one day, she's 3 years old, 2.5, 3, and said, Mom, somebody Cuba wants me to tell you something. And I went, now I know his name, okay? I didn't call it somebody Cuba, I called it Cuba. Okay, Cuba. And I said, somebody Cuba? And I said, why somebody Cuba?
Right.
And she said, why? And I said, because I know it as Cuba. And she went, oh. And I thought, okay. And she's seeing Cuba. It's an ancient being, okay? And it lived in Egypt. And he lived in Egypt, okay?
Right.
He was a pharaoh.
Right.
And She taught me all kinds of stuff when I was growing up, and apparently my daughter was next. And I said, what does Sabe de Cuba want me to know? And she said, hi. And I said, okay, thank you. And I went about my business. My poor mother did not have the luxury of that. We were
Right.
always psychic as well. But my mother, and she always knew she was intuitive. Her and my dad talked in their head all the time.
Right.
It was the ETs that she had a hard time with. And it's because of her experiences young.
Right.
She didn't understand what was going on. My mother has fear for a reason.
Mm.
And
Right.
Mom
Right.
Kuva was in my room with me, and I had a little table, and I was sitting at the table, and I would do tea parties and stuff with my animals.
Mm.
And I was talking to Kuba, and she heard me, and they're talking to Kuba. But that day, she heard Kuba answer me out loud. My mother
Mm.
went through my bedroom door like it was nothing. Blam! It slammed to
Uh,
the floor. I didn't have a door for weeks, not kidding. And she was terrified. Where'd it go? Where is he? You tell me right now. And I'm like, oh my God, and I stopped talking about him to her forever after that. I would never mention it again. When she was getting ready to pass away, we did have one small conversation about it, and that was it.
mm-hmm.
Basically, it was I apologized to her for not understanding her pain, her
Right.
angst, her this, her that.
It's a hard thing to grasp because I think even as a parent, if you feel you can't protect your child, even though
Right.
you
Oh,
may not
Yeah.
have needed protection, it's still something she did not or
Right.
chose not to have an
The
understanding
one
of.
thing about my mom, yeah, I knew is my mother was a fierce mother, and she was protective as hell. She didn't show
Yeah.
love a certain way, but that's how she showed it in her protectiveness.
Right.
And you didn't you didn't go against
Yeah.
that. And
Yeah.
it took me a long time to put that together. It really did.
Right.
She
Right.
was not demonstrative at all, and
Mm.
I am. So it's
Yeah.
we're all different. That's the one thing. And our children are not us. We don't own them, and they're here for a reason, and they have to fulfill that. And we have to let them. And it's so hard for moms. I remember the day my daughter went out to go to college and moved out of the house, and I sat on my front porch all day, just sitting there.
That's
Okay,
tough.
I
Yeah.
tell myself about it and just move on. And I'm still a protective mommy, though.
Oh, I'm terrible. I'm terrible. My children are adults. I'm terrible. We're slowly winding down. So what I'm going to do is this, and you're going to tell us all about it.
Okay.
Bam, there we go. There we are. So tell us all about it. This is the light gate. And you've got
Well, one day I got a message from somebody I love who said, we got time open. How about thinking about doing a show? Now, neither one of us thought about this ever. He's busy doing his thing and writing books. Oh my God. And it didn't go against us at all. We thought, and we talked about it for about, I don't know, a couple hours. And then we told this certain somebody, you, who, yeah, let's do this. And it has rolled from there. That night, we knew we were going to call it the Light Gate. We already had Michael Kennedy, who's in the room somewhere,
right.
built us the banner. God love you, Michael. I love you. Namaste. Hugs. Who came up with this beautiful banner for us.
Mm-hmm.
You gave us all the things that we had to adhere to, for the stations and everything and what to do. And we got the banners up, and then we started thinking, oh my God, who are we going to have as guests? And I'm the one that thought, oh no, you did this to us. You get to be the first guest.
We had fun.
First show.
We had fun.
We're lining up now, and we have, we discussed what we're going to do and how it's going to be. And
Right.
it's basically, I'm following Preston in this. He is the researcher. He has all of this unbelievable toads and loads of knowledge, paranormal, everything. I mean, the boy's researched everything. He never stops. And we're going to bring guests in from all the genres of it and let them tell their stories. And sometimes talk to researchers and find out what their method is for research.
Mm-hmm.
And everybody in between. We're just going to go for it.
Right.
And I can't wait. I mean, it's
So you're going to offer a platform for researchers and contactees and experiencers and just go on different levels.
So we were on Sunday nights, and then I get a message yesterday, day before, and it said, we got a primetime slot. What do you think? And we just sort of went, Oh yeah,
That
okay.
was quick. You've been
Wow.
promoted.
Yeah.
I know.
And I was like, wow, and I want to say this. Thank you so much for this opportunity. This is more than either one of us ever thought we'd go for or anything. And I also want to thank Joe Montaldo too, because I know that he's running things out there and, he's significant in this radio
Mhm.
uh, the adventure. And I really thank you.
Oh,
Thank
it's a pleasure for both of us. He's just like,
you.
do what you want, because I just drive him crazy. So it's just, I think it's the lesser of two evils. He goes, don't care. It's just,
Well, he
okay.
does a lot. I totally respect both of you. I mean, I know what you both are doing, and it just blows me out of the water. I thought we were
Yeah.
busy. Oh my gosh,
Yeah.
you puts us to shame.
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's just lots to it, because you have your like regular life and all. But I was thrilled when you guys accepted, and I was even more thrilled when you accepted the Monday night spot, because there's just going to be so many more people listening in, and I know what it's like to want to create that platform to, for people to come out
I
and
know.
just
Yeah,
have a good positive place
right,
to share their information or their research.
right.
So I think that's fantastic.
I know.
But
It's important. Everybody has
mm,
their own perspective. Everybody has their own experience and their own
mhm,
line of thinking toward what it is. You can't tell anybody anything. They have to experience it for themselves, and they are. And
right.
we all don't talk to one another about it. And it is absolutely past time for us to all get out there and start talking and to bring it in the open as
I
much as
th-
possible.
I think that's really important, because there's just going to be a lot more coming.
Right.
So aside from Monday nights at 9 p.m., Eastern, let me just put the banner up. Wait, so that way you guys will see this. Here we go. I'm going to put it right over there. There we go. So aside from the show, how can people get in touch with you
Okay.
or
Well,
and
first with
Preston?
Preston, he has a website. It's Preston Dennett at Weebly.com. And his sister-in-law, Kisara, Christine Dennett, actually built the website and put him on it with her. And then she's backing out of it now, and he's taking it over.
Good,
Um,
good.
it's amazing to me how that worked.
Yeah.
She is our next guest on the show. And we also have YouTube. Preston has his own show on YouTube. I started to do it, and I am going to put more things out there. We've just been trying to get up and running farm wise, and getting ready for spring and animals and all that's really
Mm.
eating me up. So,
Well,
but
now you'll do it
we're
that much
running.
quicker.
Yeah, we're running and outrunning now. So, and then I'm on YouTube as well. You can contact me on Messenger. My Facebook is kind of not accepting. I want to vet you before I put you on my friends list. I can get friend requests, but I can also, if you're not my friend, you can talk to me on Messenger. I do allow that. And I try to answer as many as I can a day. I'm a little backlogged. I'm sorry about that. I am catching up.
I know the
And then
feeling.
I will develop, we have also the Light Gate on Facebook, and you can
Mhm.
seek us out there. And that's pretty much it for now.
Well, that was fantastic. So I'm going to close off now, because we're almost at the top of the hour. Guys, can you
Yeah,
believe we got here already? Thanks to everybody in chat who
absolutely.
participated tonight. This was kind of a nice surprise to have Dolly come on, and Joe spent a few minutes, and I think Preston's just slacking. Preston,
No, he's on an interview actually. He started at 9 o'clock. And he
that's
said if I
okay.
can
He's
get off
yanking his
by
chain.
10, but yeah, he's got a new interview, so he's
Yeah,
not going
just
to.
yanking his chain. If I didn't love him, I wouldn't do it. So anyway, but thank you all for tuning in. Big thank you to Dolly for guest hosting with me. Thank you to Joe for popping in for a few minutes after a long, hard day at work. Big thank you to Folgers Coffee for sponsoring tonight's show. We appreciate you so very much. Also, big thank
Absolutely.
you to Justin Snicker, Dr. Snick, the sonic surgeon, the voice and the music behind our intro, our outro. Big thank you to Steve McGinnis, the artist behind all of our banners and artwork here. Tomorrow, well, not tomorrow night, actually, next Wednesday night. Got to get ahead of myself. My gosh. Joe is going to be Joe Montaldo. Look at that, Chris. You were just saying, I want more Joe. Well, pop back in next Wednesday night because it's going to be all Joe. So
Awesome.
I know. So it's going to be all Joe. And Thursday night right now is up in the air. So we're actually playing around with it. So I will leave that right there and you'll see something go up when it becomes available. So everybody have a fantastic weekend and we will see you next week